Welcome back to this week's recap for the Galar division. I'm here with some of the coaches, and today we're going to talk about albeit shorter week. So these were the matches. There were only 5 in total with no makeups. We have the Chicago Cinders versus the Augusta Altaria, the Reshiram Rays versus the Sacramento Nido Kings, the Diagos Demons versus the Houston Holuchas, the Baltimore Corver Knights versus the Borealis Beartics, and the Philly Faramosas versus the Mexico City Holuchas. So today, and because one of the coaches is leaving a bit early, we're going to do a little bit of a different order. So we're going to first start off, with the Reshiram Rays versus the Sacramento Nido Kings. Now this matchup looks pretty interesting to me. We see the Reshiram Rays has just a bunch of really solid power in that Celesteela and the Gigalith, the Terrakion, and then just Incineroar doing what it does. And then the Neo Kings, we always see that hyper offense with the Giga Squeezing and the Psy Spam and just everything going on. And Camo is actually here today to talk about this team. So yeah, Camo, what did you think about this game and what he brought?
He brought really good prep. Um, he brought a choice scarf version with snarl and parting shot, and it kind of wrecked my soul game one. I didn't realize that it would be faster um, than my choice scarf Pokemon, my choice scarf Lele, and so I went to Dazzling Gleam it out of existence, and then he snarled me turn one before I could even move and threw me completely for a loop, and that just was the start of a downward spiral. And I just never came back, and he kind of just like he did with Jualia, kind of just nay-nayed on my face with Celesteela, and then cleaned me up with Terrakion.
Yeah, we can definitely see that here. It wasn't a 4-0, but you did manage to take out that Celestia before it just went on its rampage. But like you said, the Terrakion just managing to clean up very well, and you definitely had to bring it. You definitely had to change up your game plan game two. And so, what did you do different?
Yeah, well, um, I I started with Feeble Lele because I wasn't expecting the Choice Scarf Persian. I didn't think that anything would be faster than that. Obviously, I was wrong. And so I realized that I needed to go more bulky. And so I benched Feeble and brought Torracat, which helped a ton. I managed to not let Celesteela get any KOs by switching in um, Torracat and then parting shot the Celesteela and just switching back and forth and making sure that my Pokemon just never were KO'd. I got a lucky. This game was full of hacks. I got a lucky double turn protect for my Alakazam, and then right after my Lele, which was -3, special attack got a crit on his Celesteela to knock that out, and then the next turn got another crit on his Terrakion that came in, and that basically sealed up the game. So it was 3 things back to back that really just brought me back into the game. Um, I was after that game, I was just sitting there like, how did I pull that off? Like I shouldn't have won that game. So
Well, it looks like all that RNG from your match with Dominic came back in turn. Good for you. And so game
yeah,
three, game three, you realized that you won. The RNG helped you a lot, so you needed to really kind of solidify that win. So how did you pull this through?
yeah. So I got through with the Torcat, but it was purely luck. I didn't feel comfortable bringing that back, and so I wasn't planning on bringing Fletchinder at all. But I got lazy last second and didn't want to make the. I didn't want to find a hidden ability Quagsire and train that up, so I just ran the same Fletchinder back, and I used that with Tailwind to make my Lele faster than his Persian and Oko it straight out the gate, which meant that he wasn't able to drop my Pokemon stats at such a fast rate. and just let me be as offensive with my team as I want it to be. Um, I did have a blunder, a pretty big blunder when like I mentioned in the superlatives. I so I first I attacked with my turn two. I attacked with my Fletchender with a Gale Wings boosted acrobatics, forgetting all about psychic terrain for some reason. And then when I saw that he didn't target my Fletchender at all, I was like, oh, he's probably just going to let it sit there like I would because it can't do anything. So I switched it out into my Alakazam, and then he doubled into it. And my Alakazam just got obliterated. And I was like, well, should have just let it sit there for another second. But luckily that didn't bite me too much, as that first turn, getting off the tailwind, and then Dazzling Gleaming into that Persian to knock it out really just set the tone for that third game.
Right, yeah, it looks like despite that blunder, you were able to do what your team does best and just power through with its offense, and you did manage to end up coming back from that and taking the win 2-1. Big congratulations to you.
Yeah, I feel like game one, he played way better than me. Game three, I played way better than him. And then game two, he just got hacked out of the win. So
Mm.
I feel like we both had our games where we just shined with our teams. And then it came down to that second game where, unfortunately, the luck was just really not in his favor. So
Yeah.
I feel bad, but it was a really good match. And I feel very fortunate to have played him and learned from the match I had against him.
Yeah, it's amazing to be able to play against someone who's so much who's like just a kid, and he is just absolutely playing amazingly, especially since he didn't draft this team on his own. He was given this team and was forced to make trades, and he's doing really well with this team. So I'm very happy to see this kind of intense game from both of you.
That was a lot of fun.
Right, I'll let you get back to work now. Thank you for coming in,
Hey,
and
thank you.
congratulations for the win.
Yep.
So now we're going to go back a bit, get a little preview of what's to see. We have the Chicago Cinderace versus the Augusta Altaria. These teams are fairly equal in their wins. The Augusta Altaria only has one less win because they didn't play a game, so this could have probably tied them up. And so we actually do have the coach of the Chicago Cinderace, Dom, here. So just why don't you talk us through this match?
Okay, so my main concern here was the Sun mode, which he didn't actually end up bringing because it was mainly just Venusaur. The Charizard I wasn't too worried about because Cinderace outsped. And like Helping Hand Max Airstream to Charizard did like it had like a chance to OHKO at like minimum it did like 90%. And then so I was really concerned because after like the solar power stuff, it would have been dead. Um, it was mainly just Venusaur. He ended up actually not bringing it because he was too worried about the Max Mindstorm coming from the Alolan Raichu. So actually didn't end up bringing it. He made more of a Trick Room focus, which I think was his biggest mistake. But excuse me. Anyway, so and then I brought my normal like Trick Room to Reuniclus Torkoal. I brought Tangaberry Reuniclus because the two Mons that gave me trouble with her Loin Reuniclus were Butterfree and Pheromosa. As Pheromosa learns Quick Guard, and then that just kind of doesn't let like like Pheromosa plus Bronzor on the lead could easily just stop my Trick Room.
Hmm.
So I didn't want Pheromosa OHKOing my Reuniclus either. Just being able to OHKO my Reuniclus with the Leech or the lunge if he got greedy, so I decided to go with Tangaberry. Safety Goggles Noivern was so I could avoid a Rage Powder from Butterfree and taunt, and have a fast taunt versus Bronzor, so that wouldn't be able to get up its Imprison if I needed to lead like Noivern plus Reuniclus because Reuniclus was Tangoberry, so I felt confident in doing so. And then Purloin was mainly just for the copycat.
Right, and we see that, yeah, the Algosaurus never brought that sun mode. They brought a sort of sand mode with that Hippopotas, probably just to try to counteract your sun mode, and then his own Trick Room with that, like you said, that Bronzor with that
I think
Butterfree. Oh,
I
sorry.
think the Hippopotas was actually to activate Gastrodon's Sand Force.
Oh yeah, yeah, and Sandforce. We always forget. Gashon just always has that Storm Drain. We forget that its ability, hidden ability Sandforce can also be a pretty big possibility with that Hippopotas. And then Heliolisk probably just for that maybe had solar power for your sun mode or Sand Veil to better just avoid non-max hits. So talk about
Yeah.
this game one.
So if you see my KOs, they were all Cinderace because Cinderace kind of just like went on a rampage this game. It uh I I was glad to see that Pheromones didn't really do anything because it wasn't the Sash. The Sash was the Butterfree, and so Pheromones tried to poison jab my because I led Cinderace Clefairy. Pheromones tried to poison jab my Clefairy, attracted my Clefairy, and like I said, I thought it was a taunt coming, and then I got the airstream off, which just already put me in such a great position. He had got the Trick Room off with his Bronzor, but I really wasn't concerned because I love bringing the Torkoal Reuniclus in the back, and then once once uh, once Clefairy was dead, Torkoal just like softened everything up for Reuniclus to finish off.
I
And
saw.
then Gatron was quite a threat, but it didn't really do enough.
Yeah, that metal sound tech was I found that to be pretty interesting, to be pretty cool. And when I saw that Pheromosa Bronzor lead, I was actually thinking the Pheromosa would speed swap into Bronzor to try to just underspeed your team in Trick Room. I don't remember how fast Bronzor is, but it definitely underspeeds Cinderace, so that's what I was thinking. But then I saw the poison jab. It was just trying to get damage on Clefairy, which did make sense.
I was thinking it was like an anti Purloin Reuniclus because Pheromosa. Oop, I need to stop doing that. Pheromosa could click guard, and then I could just do absolutely nothing because then if Pheromosa click guarded, then I think yeah, because Reuniclus max guards and then Pheromosa click guards, and then Copycat comes out. So then Copycat would copy the quick guard, and then the Prism would come out, and then I'd waste a turn to Dynamax and be slowed in the Pheromosa, which could do a lot of damage to Reuniclus.
And that also makes a lot of sense. But fortunately for you, you didn't end up bringing the Trick Room Copycat, and you were able to take this pretty handily with the 2-0 victory. And so game 2, it looks
Okay,
like,
and
yeah. Go
yeah,
ahead.
yeah. So game 2, I led Noivern Cinderace thinking that he was going to do Trick Room again because I didn't want him to get it off. Or I was also thinking that he would, if he led Pheromosa again, I just protect Cinderace and use Tailwind with Noivern to not risk any damage on Cinderace. And Noivern, he actually led Bronzor Butterfree to try to set up the Trick Room. So when it was revealed that, when Noivern showed me that there was no Mental Herb, Safety Goggles Noivern just taunted the Bronzor, and I maxed on him, got Knuckle Boost, and an Airstream Boost. And he couldn't really do much after that. As you can see, he only got 1 kill with the Gastrodon, OHKOing the Noivern.
Yeah, that's the one stipulation about Trick Room teams is it's once if you like your opponent can just prep you can prep against that Trick Room setup, it's just really hard to come back from. And so you managed to do exactly that. You managed to just completely get around his Trick Room mode and just take this pretty handily with that 3-0 with only, like you said, that Noivern going down. So yeah, again, big congratulations to you, and this sets you pretty well into these last couple weeks.
Yeah, And it's so crazy that I won a 2-0, but I didn't even go up any rankings because of how big the difference of 1 through 4 is between like 5 through 10.
Yeah, the 5 through like I think like 11 all have like a are like one win away from each other. It's just it's all dependent on losses now.
Yeah, it's like 5 through 11 is like all either 3-4, 4-3, or 4-4, 4 4-4 or 5-3. I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm. So next we're supposed to have the Dagoth Demons versus the Houston Aluchas, but Tay said that he would be late, so we can hold off on that for now. And so we actually have a game with both coaches here. We have the Baltimore Corviknights versus the Borealis Beartics. And so this was my game, and I was looking at this team, and realistically, I figured that Julia was going to bring her same six, her Galar trio, Klefki, Berserker, and Cinchino, so I just doubled down on that. I figured this is what she's going to bring, and I wanted to prep for that. The only thing I prepped, again, like I prepped otherwise, is for Naganadel, so, but that was just speed creeping. And it was only one speed point faster than Inteleon, so it wasn't too big of an issue for me. For my prep, I figured Colossal would be pretty useful in this matchup since Inteleon is a water type, but it's also pretty frail. Cinderace, if I can play around her typings, I can really go into flying and fire Cinderace with the rock fall, and then steel Cinderace with fire type moves. The Weezing, I actually brought Misty Surge because Klefki. Klefki was probably like the biggest worry on her team because it has Thunder Wave, it has Trick Eject button, it's got screens, and so I wanted to prep for all sorts of possibilities. So the Misty Surge will let everything but Bronzor and Thundurus be safe from the Thunder Waves, and then just dual attack and taunt just to nullify it. The Dragapult, I decided to bring. It's kind of a mix between the sets I brought. It's a more so supportive moveset with that Breaking Swipe and Psychic Fangs for screens, Will-O-Wisp and Surf, but I decided to put more offensive stats in this, just putting full attack and then just defenses and enough speed to creep the Naganadel. Because if anything, it's +1, it's gonna outspeed Dragapult regardless, so it doesn't really matter. And then Scraggy was what I was going to bring against Dawn, but decided not to. So I figured I'd bring against her because she has a lot of physical types, physical attackers, and then Fake Out for possible eject button Klefki, and then coaching if I'm under Trick Room, and I could just boost my defenses even more. Thundurus was just more so a secondary Maxmon and a Klefki counter. And so yeah, like you see here, she brought the same six, and played it super well. And so do you want to talk about anything about how you went about this matchup, Julia?
Yeah, as you said, I actually did not like put as much thought into this. The most thought I like put into like the prep is just reminding myself that if I want to put pressure on you, whether you brought the Colossal or the G-Max Sandaconda, I had to lead with Inteleon and Klefki for like the usual setup, and Inteleon for the usual attack, the usual attacking. And I actually tried to like do I also actually tried to like do like warm-up battles. They weren't going all that well. I was in those warm-up battles, I was doing really bad job predicting switches, and I felt like I was doing the same, especially in game 1 as well. Though looking back, I can't entirely remember if you gave like any signs whatsoever that you were going to switch into Colossal instead of just keeping the Thundurus in. But for some reason, I also like had the idea maybe I should have been clicking Snipe Shot at that moment instead of Ice Beam, because like with the scope lens and Snipe Shot's critical hit ratio, that would be like a 1 in 2 chance to like land a critical hit, which would probably deal with a Thunderous either way. And perhaps like also like make up for if the Colossal were to switch in. But alas, my not so great prediction skills was made up by the fact that your Colossal was frozen solid.
Don't remind me. So yeah, game 1. So my
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So my prep, I was always gonna lead Scraggy Thundurus because I was predicting he would bring out Klefki, and then Intimidate for the possible Rillaboom, Cinderace, Berserker, or Cinccino since they're all physical. And it's just, I was thinking, and then since I didn't have, as you say, I didn't have an electric move on Thundurus, I should have put Thunderbolt over or Wild Charge over Protect. I said this works against everything except Klefki and Teleon, and what do you lead? Klefki and Teleon. So I was like, oh, okay. I was contemplating Dynamaxing max airstreaming that Inteleon just in case to cover for switches or anything else, but I thought speed with the moves I have, it won't really help because you can just KO it the next turn. So I figured just taunt, fake out to deal with both screens and eject button Klefki, and then if it's eject button, whatever coming in can protect. That's what like I was thinking. And then yeah, that turn two, I was thinking you're gonna ice beam. You're probably gonna like ice beam my Thundurus, and I didn't want my Dragapult eating an ice beam, so I switched that in, and then the Colossal ended up getting frozen. And as you see there, I D-maxed it, thinking Max Flare would thaw it out, and that I think was just the throw. That was like where I threw the game. So, yeah, just
What was the Max Flare's base move?
Heat Wave. I wanted to Heat Wave the
I don't think
Inteleon.
Heat Wave there.
Yeah, no. I maybe if it was, I think Burn Up might. I don't know, but yeah, I was thinking, uh, Heat Wave the Inteleon, just to get some damage into it before I got obliterated. I was hoping that the sun would maybe help me live, and it just stayed frozen, and I lost from there, getting exactly one KO. So yeah, do you have any other thoughts about this game?
Uh, Not for game one.
All right. So game two, I decided to go with my Trick Room route, bringing that instead of Thundurus and Dragapult, bringing Bronzong and Weezing. So, I was kind of scared you'd bring Audino, because I mentioned that it has Trick Room, but when I saw it, didn't see it on the board, I was saying, okay, this is like the perfect chance to try to bring Bulldoze Trick Room Colossal, so I tried for that, and you dealt with it super well. Yeah, like that, just
Yeah.
yeah, the Inteleon taking out my Bronzong with Snipe Shot, and then the Rillaboom, because of that Max Quake Spit F boost, living my Max Flare, just taking out my Colossal before it can take any KOs. It was just, oh, that stung.
I can't exactly remember why I Dynamaxed Rillaboom instead of like say Inteleon or Cinderace. I think at some point did I switch out my Inteleon at some point in game two?
Yes, I think it was like, yeah, you switched it into a Max Rock. Oh, that was another thing. Max Rockfalled the Inteleon, but I was thinking this is going to be a read on if she switches out the Inteleon, because I was thinking you're gonna switch out Inteleon into either, or if you don't, like, you might switch out Inteleon into either Cinderace or Klefki, and I was gonna try to make a read on if you would either Heat Wave or Rockfall, not remembering I had Earth Power, which is super effective into both of them. So yeah, my first turn of Dynamax, you switched out Inteleon into Klefki, and I Max Rockfall did not doing a lot of damage because I wanted a Spit F boost from Sandstorm, which would have gotten with the Quake anyways, and did a lot more damage and would have done a lot more damage into Klefki. So that was another blunder on my part there.
Uh,
So yeah, it's ironically only my support pieces ended up getting KOs this match, which I find kind of funny. Neither Thundurus or Colossal got any KOs. And can I just say, Scraggy did so much damage into Cinderace. Like, I know it's like not bulky, but I didn't have any attack investment into Scraggy. I did not expect it to do that much.
I was just thinking that like I like it didn't even seem like you put too many too much investment into Scraggy's physical attack and you went with an impish nature to boot, but like I was wondering why the heck is your Scraggy doing so much damage? Why is your Scraggy like straight up threatening my endgame.
I know, it was literally Scraggy and and Wheezing. I was contemplating protecting on Wheezing, but I instead Sludge Bombed thinking you had Bounce instead of Iron Head, and that kind of really screwed me up. I might have had a chance had I protected there. But I did get that lucky double protect, and just letting Scraggy get just so many draining punches. It's like Scraggy actually kind of like went in the end, but sadly the Inteleon managed to take out the Scraggy. And so yeah, you took this game 2-0 and the set 2-0 as well. So yeah, big like you brought exactly what I thought you would bring, but you still managed to pull out the win. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so looks like Tay's still not here. Or sorry, I forgot to mention. Does anyone else have any thoughts about either of the Cinderace and Alteri's match, or the Corviknights and Beartics match?
On the topic of Smeg's Sun mode, I am slightly intimidated by that Charizard because like with my regular VGC team, I don't really have a lot of answers to Charizard other than like Chinchino. I feel a lot better for like the Ninetales and Venusaur, but the Charizard, I might have to put a little thought in that,
Mm,
especially considering that's a fire type and like my usual six, three of them is weak to fire.
that is very true. All right, so it looks like Tay is still not here, so we will just move on. So we have the Philly Pheromosas and the Mexico City Holuchas. Neither of the coaches are here, but we did get to see the Pheromosa's viewpoint, so we at least get some video. My apologies. So for the Philly Pheromosas, we see that Alchemy G-Max coming out, along with his usual core of Heatran, Sableye, Bulu, and Urshifu Single Strike with that Claydol for a Trick Room mode. And then with the Mexico City Holuchas, we see a lot of what we have seen in the past, aside from the Blastoise G-Max instead of the Rapidash, which a lot of these are interchangeable. So game one, we see that the Phil Formosas brought the Alchemy G-Max, Claydol, Bulu, and Heatran, and then the Mexico City Holuchas brought that Milotic, Blastoise G-Max, Amoonguss, and a Lycanroc. And so it's just with this kind of setup, like almost three of these Pokemon are weak to Bulu, and so we definitely saw that here with Bulu taking out. Like he doesn't have a grass resist on this team, so Bulu just kind of went in despite Blastoise being set up, and so the Philly Formosas were just being able to take this really handily with the 3-0. And then game two, he decided to change it up, bringing Urshifu and Sableye, as well as the Holucha's doing with Jacloak and Crocodile, presumably, and trying to do that sort of weakness policy strat. And it looked like it might have worked. Crocodile managed to take 2 KOs with taking out both Urshifu and Tapu Bulu, which are two of his very heavy hitters. But unfortunately for the Holuchas, Heatran was able to come in and just do what it did in the beginning. It was just managing to take KOs left and right. And so, after not being able to battle last week, the Philly Thermosas ended up taking the set 2-0. And it looks like Tay's here, so we can go back to his match. Okay, so we have the Dialga Demons versus the Houston Holuchas. There was a prediction on this match. I believe it was 5 for the Houston Holuchas and 0 for the Dialga Demons. And so, we see the Demons bringing... They made a trade. They traded their Regirock for Landorus Therian form, which did end up coming, and Frostlass, maybe Ice Shard weakness policy stuff, who knows. And then the typical stuff with Togekiss, Goodra, Crobat, and Comfey. And the Houston Luchas, here's what he brought, and he's actually here now. So yeah, Tay, why don't you talk your way through this matchup?
Yeah, so on paper, the matchup, like looking at his team, he has a lot of ice weaknesses, and trading away Regirock didn't help him in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew I was gonna bring Articuno, like for sure, and definitely Inteleon since it hits a lot of his team for like super effective or just neutral damage. and the Obstagoon was there to kind of like keep the Landorus away from like keep him away from leading Landorus, so my Articuno can like do some more stuff without being like rock slided. And the Metagross is pretty basic, like Weakness Policy, Iron Head, Ice Punch, and Zen Headbutt is there for like another stab that he doesn't resist. He has no psychic resist except for Orbeetle, but I don't think he was gonna bring Orbeetle. So the most interesting thing, like in my team, was probably the physical Articuno,
Yeah,
and
I
the reason
noticed.
the reason I brought that was because of um, it was mainly because of Gudra, so I can get like a bunch of damage off on Gudra and Togekiss in case I like max Articuno, or if I don't need speed control, I can just go for damage right away. And Obstagoon had taunt for Comfy in case he led Comfy Gudra. I could just taunt the Comfy so he can't Floral Healing or Trick Room or Ally Switch. And Haze on Inteleon for Shell Smash or Weakness Policy. The physical Raichu is there for like the same reason as the physical Articuno, because his physical defense is a lot lower than his special defense. And for Blaziken, I honestly didn't know what to put for a 6-mon. So I figured I'd just put something that kind of like baits out Landorus in the back, because my team does pretty well against Landorus with all the ice coverage. And I figured it might scare away Gudra as well, since Blaziken does a lot of damage into it because of Gudra's low defense. But that's pretty much how my prep went.
Yeah, so it looks like you kind of did the same thing I did. You pretty much guessed what he would bring from judging from past weeks, and then of course that trade. So you just kind of put a little bit of everything to just cover everything, and it looks like it did work out pretty well for you in this game one. So you see he tried to lead that Togekiss Blastoise with that Shell Smash stuff, and then you let Articuno Obstagoon. How did you counteract that?
So in prep against this league, my my plan was to Icy Wind and Max Strike the Blastoise slot. So if he goes for Follow Me, I drop the Blastoise's speed enough to where like even though the White Herb activates for the Icy Wind, the Max Strike still drops its speed by 1. So my Articuno would then outspeed again, and I could Icy Wind again before he gets like an attack off. And with the Silk Scarf, I pretty much one-shot Togekiss if it's not maxed with the Icy Wind chip. And from there, it's just kind of like Obstagoon doing massive damage with Max Strike, especially if he has like Landorus in the back and he brings it, then it just boosts the damage even more. And when Obstagoon dies, when Obstagoon gets knocked out, I just bring in Inteleon, and it takes care of whatever's left. But in game one, he didn't go for Shell Smash. He went for Blizzard and Dazzling Gleam, which is a little strange. So he didn't get any momentum from turn 1, and I had like all the momentum. And yeah, I only lost Obstagoon at the end.
Yeah, so it looks like your prep paid off for this match, and you only, yeah, with that only one death. And so game two, you see he tries to change it up a little bit, same for Mons, but instead Togekiss Crobat, probably trying to get off a Tailwind. And so you play the exact same Mons, and how did you play it, but with this change up in lead, how did you play it differently?
So for this lead, I I brought the same mons. I was gonna bring the same mons for any of his leads, but for against this lead, I didn't want to max Obstagoon because I figured he'd max Togekiss and go for like Airstream or Starfall into it, and I figured it wasn't worth maxing in front of something that can just OHKO it. So I went for Icy Wind, and with the Scarf Articuno, I outspeed the Crobat, and Double Edge with the Silk Scarf OHKOs, well not OHKOs, but it kills Crobat after the Icy Wind damage. And without the Tailwind, Metagross can just come in and do insane damage to Togekiss. And it survives a crit max flare.
Oh.
So I get the weakness policy boost after that.
Oh, that's pretty handy to see. And yeah, it looks like you this prep again once again paid off. You managed to take one more KO than last turn. Last time taking 2 KOs, but it looks like you're just able to clean up with that Inteleon in the end, and you took the set 2-0. So, you know, you may be still behind in one game, but you're still holding up your edge for the playoffs. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
We've been jumping a bit, so I just want to make sure I didn't miss any games. We did that. Yep, so looks like we played all the games. And so we are off to our superlatives. Sorry. So, blunders of the week. We have 2 blunders for the Borealis Beartics and the Baltimore Corviknights. So from my turn, it has to be Dynamaxing my Frozen Colossal and then just getting it KO'd by Inteleon's Snipe Shot. It honestly might have been a crit too, which is just ouch. And I want to add also that game 2 Max Rock Falling Inteleon, which switched into Klefki when I had a perfectly safe Max Quake there as well. So, that stung. Even if it didn't KO Klefki, it just hurts knowing that there was a much better option than what I did. And on the Baltimore Corviknight side, it's actually using prankster moves on my Scraggy twice. She tried to go for at first a switcheroo and then a thunder wave, both into my Scraggy. I think there was the same game as well, and I was just so confused. And then on the Sacramento Nidoking versus the Reshiram Rays, it was that switching in Fletchinder into Alakazam, thinking it wouldn't get attacked because it was useless the last turn, but instead it's for some reason got double into, and so it just absolutely died. Text of the week for my team, the Borealis Bearchicks, it was by Misty Surge Wheezing to circumvent the Thunder Waves from Klefki. The Reshiram Raises Choice Scarf Persian, Alolan Persian, to just really mess with Camo's attack, which, like I said, it's hyper offense. So if you can find a way to mitigate its attack, it's all the power to you. And then for the Chicago Cinderace, it was the Safety Goggles Noivern to just shut down Butterfree Bronzor leads. And then our most valuable Pokemon we have for the Borealis Bearchicks, we have the Scraggy. For its Intimidate allowed Colossal to just to take a Max Quake from Rillaboom, this Fake Out for Eject Button Klefki, Coaching to allow Wheezing to live an Iron Head Flash Cannon double up, and then it also took out a KO onto the Cinderace. So this little NFE is really put in the work that match. For the Baltimore Corviknights, it was like she said, that Inteleon for forgiving her lack of prediction skills and that freeze on the Colossal. I would have nominated that for Hacks of the Week, but I think I've talked about it enough, and I would not like to talk about it anymore. For the Sacramento Nidokings, it was that Fletchinder for Game 3, allowing him to play around that Scarf Alolan Persian with that Tailwind. And then for the Chicago Cinderace, it was his mascot, that Cinderace, for taking so many KOs. It took 7 KOs and didn't faint once. And speaking of that Cinderace, here were the KO leaderboards. It was Cinderace's tied for KOs, but only taken apart in deaths, with that Mamoswine taking up the back end with only one KO behind. But for week 8, like I said, 7 KOs, 0 deaths, put the Chicago Cinderace, gave him the lead against the Baltimore Corviknight Cinderace, which only got 1 KO and 1 death. With the Mamoswine still holding on to that third place despite not playing a match this week. Here were your leaderboards. Here's your playoff contenders for week 7. And we see there was a bit of a shift, and a bit of a shift again in that bottom 2. That 5th and 6th place, we have the Chicago Cinderace and Miss Magical Marauders taking up that latter half. And just the Great British Blastoise, despite not having a match in the week 8, still holding on to that first place position. Here are your power rankings. There was quite a big shift in the playoff contenders, and then just a bit of a more average in the middle of the pack. And here are the power ranks. It was just basically one person got dropped and the rest got pulled up, and then just a minor shift in the 10 through 12 positions. And so fun fact, like we mentioned earlier, all of these teams are really close in wins. I think I'm taking the 11th spot. I have 3 wins, and then Miss Magical Marauders has 4 wins. So it's definitely looking to be pretty close for that 5th and 6th position. And if I remember to do it correctly, yes, we have the week 9 matchups. So here are the teams that are playing. Unfortunately, one of our coaches dropped out. The Myrtle Beach Pelipers was supposed to play against me, and so I'm currently trying to figure out how to circumvent this without giving any forfeit wins. But if it comes down to it, I can't fight it. And so yeah, I see some very interesting teams playing off. We have the Miss Magical Marauders versus that Reshiram Rays. The Reshiram Rays having Appleton G-Max, which I know Miss Mag is kind of still reeling from his loss against the Sparta Phalanx is Appleton, so we're trying to prepare for that. And then the Houston Haluchas versus the Chicago Cinderace. That's going to be a very interesting match for sure. Both of these teams looking their 4th and 5th respectively, so this will be very interesting to see. And thank you for watching.